Call this meeting of the Millersville Borough Council to order as of 7 o'clock p.m. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed. I ask you all now to please rise, pledge allegiance, and remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. All right. To start, I am looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the September 10th, 2024 council meeting. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
You need to call it out?
No,
You're giving me a look.
if it would be possible, now that we have it written out like this, could we say the actual motion each time?
Very
I
well.
would so appreciate it.
Oh.
Sorry. It's just easier that way.
Very well. There's been a motion to approve the minutes of the council meeting held on September 10th, 2024 by Vice President Giberson and seconded by, was that you, Marianne?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, Marianne? Good Lord. The two of you are going to drive me nuts. Any discussion required on those meeting minutes? Very well. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, at this time, council will hear any comments, requests, or concerns from members of the public related to items on the agenda or other matters. You will have 5 minutes to speak. We ask that you please come to either microphone or ask that a microphone be brought to you. Please give your name and a general address for the record if you do decide to address council. You had me worried for a second you weren't going to say anything. Thought something might be wrong.
Okay, my name is Richard Franz. I live at 55 North Duke Street. We know we have some developments in the area, basically Garmin or whatever it is. My biggest concern is I noticed some areas that sprayed for insects and mosquitoes. We have a lot of standing water in these areas. Now I know it hasn't rained, well, now it's raining now, but we had some pretty big amounts of water all over the place. My grandkids were getting eaten up by the mosquitoes. They live on Prince Street. They were just all over the place. So maybe we can consider having the developer spray the area and like the other places have done, and it would, I think it would make it better for all of us so that we can eliminate any chance of diseases.
And to be clear, which area are you specifically referring to?
Well, I live on Duke Street, and my son lives on Prince Street. So between there, this young lady right here, Mrs. Garber, she lives there, but behind their house and a lot of different other places, it seemed to accumulate a lot of water. And water means mosquitoes and other. And then another thing I saw that you're going to talk about, but I'm going to just say my 2 cents anyway. I think our crossing guards is a real challenge. I was pleasantly surprised to see the couple officers out every morning when I went past this elementary school. But I think that 2/3 of the traffic is from the college, and maybe we should get the college involved a little bit in that. Now, I know that's very technical, might not, but maybe we could challenge them to help out.
Well, it's not only technical, it's like
Pardon?
I said it's not only technical, having been employed by the university for quite some time and chair of the art department, it's not as easy as just saying, hey,
No, but
you know, I mean,
but
it's,
if they develop programs, maybe get grants or whatever, and have challenge the college to have trainees to do stuff like that, because they're going to, especially if someone's getting in law enforcement, you could challenge the kids that, hey, why don't you get out in the street and do something? Just a different perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Franz. All right, seeing no other comments or no one else approaching the microphone, we'll move on. Let's see here. At this time, we'll hear from the Blue Rock Regional Fire Commission.
They had a special meeting. They called a special meeting where all of the volunteers were asked to meet at the firehouse that was on Columbia, and that was earlier this week. And what they did was they wanted to present the fact that they have bought the property for the new firehouse that will be a consolidation of 2 of the firehouses. And they opened it up for discussion and brought in the plans of what they were expecting. And there was some feedback that the firefighters were not particularly happy with it. Some of them were not, because it does make a difference from some of the locations where they're currently located. It would be as much as, could possibly as much as be 5 to 10 minutes difference for them for that location. So that was brought into play. But it was discussed that Basama only had some property left, and we were not given that much of an option, so we had to take the one that we had, and that was actually the 5th choice. So as the property opened it up, for instance, there was some property available on Blue Rock Road, then it became not available, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is the one that we've been left with. And it is property that's right down next to, do you know where the Tomato Festival is?
Yeah.
It's down by
Down
the Tomato
in Washington
Festival.
Borough, you mean?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
it'll be down in Washington Borough area. So that was what happened.
Very good. All right. We'll move on to council committee items for action. Start with the Finance Advisory Committee. First, I would like to move that we approve the August financial report. As this is out of committee, it does not require a second. Any discussion or debate on the matter? Very well. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the August financial report, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Very well. The motion passes unanimously. All right. Next, we move on to the minimum municipal obligation that was discussed during our last meeting. I am going to propose a motion that we acknowledge the minimum municipal obligation for the borough pension plans as provided by our pension advisors and the selection of the market value MMO for the borough's 2025 contribution. As this is out of committee, does not require a second. Is there any discussion on the minimum municipal obligation? Very well. Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Again, passes unanimously. From there, we move on to the Personnel Advisory Committees, looking to accept the resignation of Ann Thundercloud from the Planning Commission. Do I hear a motion to accept Ms. Thundercloud's resignation?
This came out of committee. I think we already voted.
Yeah, I thought we did voted it
out of committee. Out of committee.
Understood. I still need the motion.
Okay.
Very well, then we have a motion on the floor to accept the resignation of Ann Thundercloud from the Planning Commission. Is there any discussion on the matter? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting Ann Thundercloud's resignation from the Planning Commission, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? And the motion passes unanimously. Yep. Moving on to Public Welfare and Public Works.
Okay, the first item is continued discussion of Pavilion A naming and/or borough naming policy. We did make some revisions, were made to this at our last meeting, and so this is technically out of committee, and therefore we do not need a second. So all those in favor
Say
of...
aye.
Yeah.
Motion first, discussion, then vote.
I'm gonna do this. I'd like to hear a motion to accept this Anyone care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion to accept.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Second?
No second required.
That's
There we
right,
go.
it's out of committee.
There we are. And then just a quick review of what has changed since our discussion. In looking over the appendix to this resolution that would define our naming policy, I believe there was some discussion about having a 60-day time limit on there, which has been removed, or the recommendation is it be removed. And that is the draft that we have in front of us, is that correct?
That's correct.
Otherwise, I think this conforms broadly with what was recommended to us by our Parks Department with our own additions. I otherwise have nothing to comment on. Anybody else before we move to a vote? Very well. In that case, let me get the wording correct. All those in favor of adopting the resolution of the Council of the Borough of Millersville establishing a borough naming policy and the updated Exhibit A policy, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? And the motion carries unanimously.
Okay, moving on to letter B, review draft RV ordinance and approval to advertise. This is also out of committee and it has been revised. We all should have gotten a copy of that. So I will make a motion to proceed with the approval to advertise the draft review of the RV ordinance. We do not need a second because it is out of committee.
That's correct. Is there any discussion on the matter? All right, I'm going to take a moment just to read off for the audience here our actual change. I believe this to be fine. Here we go. So the change reads in whole. No major recreational equipment shall be parked or stored on any lot in a residential district except in an enclosed building or in a pad made of asphalt, concrete, paving block, or a pervious paving material located behind the dwelling unit, provided, however, that such equipment may be parked anywhere on the lot for a period not to exceed 48 hours during loading and unloading. On a corner lot, major recreational equipment may be parked or stored on a pad made of asphalt, concrete, paving block, or pervious paving material adjacent to the dwelling unit. No such major recreational equipment shall be used for living, sleeping, or housekeeping purposes when parked or stored. For the purposes of this section, major recreational equipment shall include, but shall not be limited to, boats, boat trailers, travel trailers, pickup campers, or coaches designed to be mounted on vehicles, recreational vehicles, motorized dwellings, tent trailers, utility trailers, and cases or boxes used for transporting recreational equipment, whether occupied by such equipment or not. The ordinance is otherwise unchanged.
Is there any discussion?
I've talked enough.
Can I just,
I'm gonna let Rebecca talk.
I just wanted to offer a clarification. This ordinance was drafted by our solicitor based on the comments that council had at the last meeting. She made a couple of just edits for readability, but she did want to make sure that council understood that this ordinance is only going to apply to residential districts. That's R1, R2, R3. We can, on the staff side, we can confirm that that is where the issues are happening. But I just wanted to pull that out specifically. This does only affect residential districts based on the definition of residential. And you're voting on it tonight is a motion to advertise. You're not adopting the
Motion
ordinance
to
this evening.
advertise.
That is correct. Good call out.
Thank you. And since it's already out of committee, we only need to vote.
You've already made the motion. We've
Yes.
had our discussion. You want to call a vote?
Sure. All those in favor of approving this, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Then it is passed. And the third item under Public Welfare and Public Works is snow removal contract, consideration of 1-year contract to Keenan Excavation and Concrete. This is also out of committee. We approved this, and we do not need a second. Is there any discussion? Everybody should have received this thing that, yeah, We won't have a discussion till it snows.
Oh,
I don't recall, Keenan is quoting us at $115 per unit. How does that compare with prior contract?
Actually, it's the same as last year.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure that was clear.
And everyone should have gotten a copy of this, so you have that in your material.
You want to call vote, you can.
All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of accepting the Keenan contracting for snow removal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentioned? Then the motion is carried. And that concludes the Public Welfare and Public Works Committee for tonight.
Moving on, Mr. Mayor, do you have anything for us?
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. And hopefully, like last year, we won't need any snow removal.
yeah. I didn't even get my.
Now we got work for happy group. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up for the Millersville Business Association Saturday in the Park. It was a huge turnout and great success, and as well as the parade this past Saturday. Heard a lot of phenomenal comments. It was a fantastic parade. So thanks to Victor for all his support and hard work, and his little golf cart that he moved around the borough with. So, now turn it over to the chief. He can talk about the calls for service this past month.
Okay, I'll give you the rundown for police department activity for month of August. We handled 374 calls for service. We handled 17 ordinance complaints. 2 were for disorderly conduct, 4 were for noise, 7 were for open alcohol, 1 for curfew, and then 3 were others. We had a total of 8 ordinance citations, 3 disruptive conduct reports issued, 5 criminal arrests, 4 were adult, 1 was a juvenile, 6 Part 1 offenses, which we cleared all 6 for 100% clearance, and 38 Part 2 offenses, which we cleared 36 and had a 95% clearance rate. Total traffic violations were 84. That should sound a little bit high. You've been used to hearing from me, and that you're going to now see that we've got officers. These numbers are going to now increase because we have people to actually get out there and start getting some of the stuff done. Even though they're not all out of training yet, a few are, and the next 2 are coming soon at the end of the month. Speeding violations were 26, 58 other traffic citations, 12 vehicle accidents, 3 were reportable, 9 were non-reportable, 69 parking tickets issued, a little over 3,500 vehicle miles patrolled. We did not pick up any additional serious investigations, but Lieutenant Scott did have 8 hours covering a patrol shift, since, like I said, they're not all out of training yet, so we still do sometimes have to cover some of the shortages for the shifts, but we're getting there, so that's it.
Can I go back to the mayor's report for 1 second? How would one find out how to contact the school? I think it's the middle school that did the fife and drum. How would I contact the director of that group? I think they're the best of the show every year.
I can address that in my
You
remarks.
would know that. Yeah. Okay. I'll see you afterwards. Yeah, they're great.
All the bands were phenomenal this year. They really were. And just to give you some context from the reports and assignments this year, as we know, 2024 is not over yet. We still have quite a few months to go yet, but for this year alone, number of calls was 2,966 calls so far this year. And in comparison, in 2021, for the entire year, we had 1,737. So that gives you an idea how much these guys are working, more so than just 3 years ago, the amount of calls for service. That's everything. Thank you very much.
Very good. In that case, we will move on to the Millersville University report. Dr. DeSantis.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. Greetings to all. Wanted to, since I was last here, I wanted to just bring a couple things to your attention. First and foremost, wanted to bring to your attention our, on Friday, September the 6th, we had a really nice State of the Ville address from President Wuba, and the garden supper on campus went really well. As with most things, when you have good weather, it solves a lot of other issues, right? But that was our opening address by the president. If anybody's interested in seeing that address, it is on our website, and you can watch that. You can watch that address. One of the themes of the event was highlighting our community partnerships. So the theme of his address this year was Millersville University as an anchor institution in the region, and so we talked a lot about the work we do in the community, including the borough. We did have a great event for our Day of Caring. We had over 20 sites visited, several here in the borough, and it just so happened that Rebecca had a team of students with her the morning of the Saturday in the park, and those students and Rebecca and the team did a great job of cleaning up the park in advance of all of us getting there with the Millersville Business Association, so thank you for that as well. The park looked great that day, really did, and there were absolutely no bees. Okay, that's a home run. All right, so moving on to this past weekend, you can't really bottle the weather again, but boy, I'll tell you what, the decision to move the parade from late October to late September was one of those decisions, as you all know, as elected officials, you can't win a lot of decisions, right? Somebody's always upset. And so we had some people that weren't excited about moving the parade earlier. But we moved it on in the hopes that we would have weather that maybe wasn't either cold rain, snow flurries, or 32-degree morning. And we were rewarded with a absolutely great, I got there at, what Phyllis, we got there about 5:30, 5:45, and it was already 60 degrees. It was a beautiful morning. Everyone was so cooperative, and that was, and that was really the key. Everybody was cooperative, everybody was smiling, so it turned out to be a great decision to move it. And the parade, the parade came off extremely well. We had 117 entries this year. That was just down by about 10 from our usual number. So we had over 2,000 people in the parade. And of course, thanks to our friends at Acorn Acre, we also had 24 live animals in the parade. So, and the theme I thought was just a home run. To see this many people running around with dinosaurs and dragons was absolutely, and mythical creatures. There was a whole bunch of unicorns running around out there, my friends. So it turned out to be a great day for the borough, a great day for the university. And it was followed up by some things which I also want to bring to your attention. First and foremost, let me not forget a big, huge thank you to all of you. From the chief and his team helping to make sure that we were safe, to the Blue Rock folks, Dwayne, Linda, all the Blue Rock team, great job of making sure that we were secure. The borough team from Streets did a great job with all the closures and all the signage. I mean, it was just top to bottom a tremendous college and community effort. And I owe a great deal of thanks to all of you. Also want to thank you for your allowance to allow us to close the portion of Frederick Street that was the block party. The block party was a huge success. I've never seen that many in the borough and around campus. I've never seen that many food trucks. The wide variety of food trucks and just the atmosphere on Frederick was just phenomenal. So again, a big part of the day. We had for the first time ever, and Marianne, this may interest you, we had first time ever a maker's mark with a whole bunch of vendors who were, and I was of course trying to get Phyllis to display some jewelry and what have you, but there was a whole bunch of young student entrepreneurs as well as alumni and other people from the community selling their products, showing whatever their craft or whatever their side hustle is. They were doing a great job, and we had over 40 people that were selling stuff, and it was really a nice part of the event. honestly, the only downside of the event was our football team took another big, L. So
There's a big straw.
it seems to be the trend right now, Joe. So I'm not sure what we can do there. We can only do so many things, and that's not one of them. So I wanted to just make sure I gave a big thank you to all of you for your support. Many of you were in the parade, and we appreciate that too. This week coming up, we have a couple things going on that are important for you all to know. One is next week on Monday we have the 40th annual the 40th installation of the Holocaust and Genocide Conference, which, as you know, is a mainstay on our campus, and so that'll be the main address for that conference is next Monday, and of course it's free and open to the public, and so you can go on the website. It's right on the front page of the website right now. The Holocaust and Genocide Conference. Wanted to also make sure that you knew that we have a couple things going on in the arts area. The later on coming up in October, we've got a really nice jazz concert coming up at the Ville, and so that is going to be at the Winter Center on campus. And again, you can get tickets for that event through the box office or over at the Winter Center, but that should be a really great event. Jazz in the Ville is just fantastic. So we'll all enjoy that together. This Saturday, Chief, there may be a little bit more traffic in town. We have an open house coming up this Saturday, and so there may be a little more daytime traffic. And so we've got open house tours of campus and what have you. I should also tell you that this past yesterday the embargo was lifted. We went up some 15 places in the U.S. News and World Report ranking for public universities. So we went from number 116 last year to 101 this year. So for what it's worth, we're ascending in some of the national rankings again. Finally, I just want to point out that we did receive a grant that should be a grant of note for you. We just were awarded a $50,000 grant from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board to do a project on campus to reduce drinking and dangerous driving. And so we'll be deploying some training programs and some educational efforts to our students, particularly around drinking and dangerous driving. So that grant will be put to good use almost immediately. We're going to start programming on that this fall. Okay, and for Michael's attention, the gentleman's name is Rick Worley, W-O-R-L-E-Y. Rick Worley is the band director at Central York, and it's the Central York Fife and Drum Corps. And those were the little people that look so darn spiffy. They look great. They sounded pretty good too. And this year, as Phyllis knows, one of the things we worry about with the young people in the Fife and Drum Corps, sometimes they go a little slower than we'd like the parade to move. This year, I gave a special request to Rick to keep his people moving, and those little feet were moving as fast as they could. They kept up with the parade. They did not hold us back. Yeah. The only people that held us back were some of the dinosaurs.
When I look on their website, will he be like under music?
Yeah, I would look, yeah. And you know what, also, Rebecca knows how to get in touch with you. I will send Rebecca his email address.
Oh, okay, good.
That way she can get it to you, okay? Okay. Happy to answer any questions or provide any more information if you'd like. Thank you, my friends.
We appreciate your time, sir.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful evening.
All right. As far as the Penn Manor School District report, it looks like Principal Eby is still working on identifying some student reps for the year, so we will move on to our manager's report.
Right, so first I just, while we're talking about the Saturday in the Park and the parade, the borough had a table at the Saturday in the Park, and we gave out lots of battery bags. It's always a really popular one with residents, and talked to a lot of kids, which was awesome. So good borough representation that day. And thank you. For the students that were here that day, they were awesome. We had about 20 first-year students who were here for Day of Caring, and they were weeding and they were helping out our park labor Cody clean up trash and everything and make it look really nice. So it was nice to have students that many students in the park that day, helping us out. And the parade was great. Our street team did an awesome job getting everything set up and together. So I appreciate all their hard work. And I got to see a bunch of you while I was walking. You saw me escorting my husband in one of the big inflatables and my daughter in my stroller. So we had a lot of fun being volunteers in the parade again this year. All right, on to the business for manager's report. The first thing is a pretty big one for us. This is consideration and approval of award of our trash and recycling removal contract. Penn Waste was our low bidder. They are a current contractor as well, so you've heard us talk about Penn Waste before. Some things I just want to point out, although a lot of this was in your backup documents, so I just wanted to point out a couple of things that happened related to this big project. Some things that were different this year. First different thing was that we offered the alternate bid option of doing curb carts or toter service, which we can come back to. And then we also, in the past, we've done 3-year contracts with 3 years of extensions. We're offering now making it a 5-year contract with optional 1-year extensions. The reason to change to 5-year is that's what more municipalities are moving towards. So it makes us a more biddable project, so to speak, because we're more in line with what bidders are looking for. So that's why we switched to 5-year contract. We did have 3 bids, I'm sorry. We opened bids on September 9th. We had the pre-bid meeting on the 26th, in which 4 contractors came, 3 of them bid, and we publicly opened the bids on the 9th. We opened them before that. The document itself, you saw the bid document, pretty lengthy document, a lot of information in there. A lot of this, and we are so incredibly thankful to the support of Laxwana. They are very, very helpful in helping us get ready for bid, because this is as you saw in the backup, this is a really hefty document going through the bid contract and all the bid documents. It's a lot to go through. We had to go through every single page to make changes. They are really helpful as advisors and helping us on the staff side know what the trends are right now in trash and recycling pickup. So they were incredibly helpful. Big shout out to Kelly there. They're great. Penn Waste is our low bidder. The low bid for the toter service is $228. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at what toter service would look like. This was in your backup. I can pass this around as well. Right now, you probably are all aware that everybody gets their own trash can. You go pick out one from the store. The borough provides recycling bins, but everybody gets their own trash can. If we switch to toter service, the contractor would provide every resident with the toter. And then if it were to say break or something like that, you would get another one from the contractor, from Penn Waste. Same with recycling. They would also provide the recycling bin. There's a lot of advantages and disadvantages, but one of, I think, the big advantages of the toter service is, of course, that it's provided. The trash cans are provided, but it certainly holds more. We can do 3 trash bags. It's 96 gallon, so that's really 3 standard trash bags, which is what's allowed in the borough anyway, without having to purchase a trash tag. So it makes it a little bit easier for our residents to remember 3 bags, go in there, that's how many you're allowed. It is able, this is one of those ones where the truck drives up, it puts the arm out, it picks it up, dumps it in, puts it back down. More and more municipalities are moving towards toter service. The questions have certainly come up about things like parking or things like that. Wouldn't really, in talking with Penn Waste, that wouldn't really be much of an issue because of the way that the machines work and because of the way that there would be staff on the truck, just like there is now, to make sure that it gets properly onto the machine and is tipped over. And if for some reason there's a parking issue, they'll still pull it out, dump it in, put it back. So let me pass this around so that everybody can just make sure that you see what the toter looks like. That, I think, is probably from the staff perspective what we would recommend, but it's absolutely up to council if you'd want to go with their alternate bid for the curb card toters, or if we keep it going the way we've been doing it standard.
Did you say that the toter price was $228?
Yes.
What is the normal price then without it?
Hold on. To go without, to do,
As we're doing
without
now.
the toter, it would be $198, which is an increase. Either way, it's an increase from what we're currently doing.
Did you say 198?
$198. I should note though, with either one that we were to go with, just looking at the budget numbers, it doesn't look like it would require us to change the trash and recycling bill for residents. Yeah.
It's a single tote per household, or two, I suppose, one for recycling and one for
Yeah,
general waste.
That's right. And they would be marked appropriately.
And anything that was not inside the tote would require a garbage tag.
Yep, just like we do now with the trash tags. Yep, that would all remain the same.
In looking at the agreement, I was looking to find if there were any changes for contract waste. It looks like, broadly speaking, the contract is the same, but I'm not seeing anything about oversized items. I'm not talking about extra bags or anything like that. But for something like not even white trash, but just some larger piece of an instrument, Rogan instrument, a big piece of equipment, something along those lines. We have a once annual pickup for items of that nature.
Those are the blue tags. But then we do red tag service every week. That's for, you're putting out a mattress, you're putting out a chair, things like that. Yep, those are regular red tags, and those will continue to happen with this contract.
And the blue tag system would be, generally speaking, the same. It's the same provider.
Yep, those would be the same. Those are the ones where it's just a couple of dates every year that we offer that service. And yep, Penn Waste is, because they are our current contractor, they're pretty comfortable with our trash tag system and everything. And the nice thing is too that Penn Waste are not, most of the contractors are familiar with it from other municipalities as well. So, yep, nothing is changing about that. There were a couple changes that we made into the contract this year that are more on the reporting side, because it would, we just moved up a couple of the timelines that they would need to send us their numbers, because it makes it easier for us to then let Columbia Borough know how much we've dropped off their yard waste. Makes it easier to submit the documentation that we have to submit to Loxoma to get billed. So we pushed up a couple of their reporting timelines. We really didn't make a lot. We cleaned up some things that just needed to be cleaned up, but there weren't any massive changes. The big thing is the 5-year contract and the option for curb cards.
Can you clarify how yard waste would still work? Do we still do the bags?
Yep, still do the bags. Those would still be picked up by Penn Waste, and we because of the way that Loxoma works, we don't actually take yard waste to them. We take yard waste to Columbia. So we have an agreement with them.
And yard waste, lawn waste should still be in the same window according to the contract.
Yep. Yep.
And so forth.
Still need the green?
Yep, still agree. Yep. Yep. Nothing about that is changing. So honestly, for all of our residents, the only thing that they're really going to notice a big difference is if we go with curb carts, they're going to get a new trash can, fancy new trash can.
And less stuff blowing around and multiple cans and things being stacked, you know, it would be nicer, cleaner, neater.
It does certainly aesthetically look nice. You know, certainly when you're driving around, then everything looks the same. And I don't know there's any data necessarily to support this, but I've heard anecdotally that it makes it harder for anybody's trash to be missed because they all look exactly the same. You can't miss them. They're 96-gallon large totes. You can't miss them. So, because if anybody is here on Monday and Tuesday mornings here in the office, you know that is our #1 call that we get all day long is missed trash. I should know too, because I don't think it would be fair not to say this. We have had some struggles with this contract with Penways. We've been very upfront with them about our issues with this contract. We had a meeting with them a few weeks ago, before this, before we received bids and all of that. We had a meeting with them to discuss all of the issues that we've been having and all of the resident complaints that we've gotten. They have committed to really working on it. There has been some change in staffing, so we're hopeful that with having different people working with the borough, that we will see some changes, some more responsiveness to some of the issues that we have. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, missed trash, especially if it was out on time, it's unacceptable. Leaving trash cans in the middle of the road is unacceptable. Getting complaints that trash has been, dumped out and is sitting on the street somewhere, it's unacceptable, because then we have to go and figure it out. We have to go clean it up. And that's just unacceptable. So they have promised to be working better on that. They're doing additional training for their staff. So we are cautiously optimistic that we'll see some changes. They are, of course, the low bidder, so our options are slightly.
A lot of us already have that. I know Mary and I both have that style of trash can. What do we do with the old one? It's not such an easy thing, get rid of your old trash cans, I found out. I don't know where you recycle them in, but what will they do with?
That's a really good question.
Oh,
I will have to look into
okay,
that.
yeah, I mean.
You can put it in the trash can and I don't know.
But when I had the old, lift up ones, they don't really take them. The old, this was years ago, maybe 10 years ago. They didn't take your old trash cans, so I had to find a place to recycle it.
Let me find that out.
But you find out, yeah.
Let me find that out,
yeah.
because I think we could probably figure out a way for Penways to take that.
And I'd rather use theirs, really.
It's also my understanding that the toters are less labor intensive for them to have to, they only require 2 people, one driving and one with the toter stuff, sometimes one. And they've had trouble all the time getting people to work, where they've had 2 or 3 per truck, and they're always fighting people being out sick and people not calling in and all of that. So that might help with that issue.
So it seems as though the decision before council is not whether or not to accept the bid, but whether we would like the toter service or not. The price difference of $30, and that's per unit per week, is my understanding?
No.
That's
No.
that's just per when we're thinking about unit in this case, think of residences that get picked up. So for us, the number is 1,805 is how many units we have. Those are houses that we pick up trash at.
Did you say there would not be a raise if they took the toter service? There would not be a raise for the...
In looking at the budget numbers, we should be okay not having to raise, because last year was the raise for trash and sewer. You all voted to do that for this year, and it looks like that was enough to cover for this change. Everything went up. Everything went up.
There's a surprise.
And I want to note too as well, because I think that sometimes I think when people think of those 96-gallon toters that they are large, and for some of our residents, physically that might be challenging. Penways, and it is written into the contract as well, they will continue to do the special service that we ask for, where if residents let us know about any difficulties that they have physically getting trash out, that we put in a request to Penways asking them to do door service for that property, and they'll do so. So we already have, I think we have 4 right now residences that we do door service for. That's written into the contract that they would continue to service those homes, as well as any more that we would need to add.
Will everyone then be required to use a toter? For example, when I go out on my morning walk, I see a lot of people who don't use any kind of trash cans. They just pile their bags there. Now, will that trash be taken, or will they be required to put it in the toter? How's that going to work?
So if it's their 3 bags that they're allowed, that needs to go in the toter. Now, if it's additional things where they're getting extra trash tags for, they can put it, as long as it's tagged, it can go next to it.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, everybody will be required to use the toter.
So are you looking for a motion to accept this toter program?
Yes, what we'd be looking for tonight is to award the contract to Penn Waste as the low bidder. If doing it with toter service, it would be for the 1-year contract price of $228 per unit. As you saw in the contract, there's a calculation that it uses based on CPI to increase that every year. But for year 1, 2028, $228.
Very well. In that case, we will start with the toter service. I will make a motion that we, let me get your wording, award a 5-year contract with 2 possible 1-year extensions to Penn Waste Municipal Trash and Recycling Removal with toter service for a year 1 price of $228 per unit. Do I have a second?
I second.
I think we've discussed ourselves out, so all those in favor of the motion to award this contract, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. The motion carries.
The second item on the agenda for the manager's report is the discussion of crossing guard contract with the Crossing Guard Services LLC. However, as I provided in the note in the document in front of you, we're a little delayed on this. We were hoping to have it back from the solicitor for this meeting. The solicitor is having to go through the agreement that Crossing Guard Services sent a little more carefully. She didn't necessarily love all the language that they had in their contract. But she did, just in initial discussions, agreed that certainly contracting this out is certainly a possibility, and indicated that if council decides to move forward with this contract, it would not be a terribly complicated process to simply vote to dissolve the Educational Service Agency, as they would essentially no longer be needed. So I don't have an actual agreement in front of you this evening, because our solicitor is still working through it. But as soon as I do have that, and that she's comfortable with their language, then I can bring that back to council for review. We're just a little more delayed. I think she didn't necessarily expect to be putting that much work into the agreement.
No problem. I don't particularly feel the desire to rush into dissolving the Education Services Agency agreement until we see that agreement, but if anybody else would like to make that motion, they certainly may. I think we'll just wait until we see the, yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry, I was certainly not suggesting that this evening. That would be...
Some of the language in our notes here intimated that we could do so.
Oh, sorry, I meant it would not be complicated to do so, but we legally couldn't do it until after you all would sign onto a contract anyway. Luckily, they only meet once a year. So.
Very good. I have nothing to report. I mean, we're finished with the manager's report, correct?
Yes, yes.
I have nothing to report except to thank all of you who attended the parade. I had a great time marching in it myself. Do we have any unfinished business before council? I don't believe so. And I see no reason for us to adjourn to executive session. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Don't step on each other. Marion, motion to adjourn. A second.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjournment, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? I didn't think so. We stand adjourned.